our rivers and streams. We're not really getting much more out of hydro for now and in the future. But we're in desperate need as an industry for generation of electrical power. Right now, the big New York blackout that we had on August 14, 2003, when that big blackout of New York and everything, you know what caused all that? A tree. On a hot summer day, with everybody having their air conditioning units on, one big transmission line touched a tree and took out all those states. And you know why? We don't have enough power lines, enough generation. For years, the power industry has been trying to get more power plants going. The big power plants are kind of like history now. Right now, what's being replaced, or what's replacing the need for big power plants are all the individual small units, like these big wind turbines and all the solar systems, and with the government pushing for renewable energy and reducing the carbon footprint. There's so much going on in the renewable energy. Well, since Applied Professional Training's been actively involved in training in the power industry for over 16 years. Okay, we're working with all the power companies all across the country, have been and still do, and the future for training is in this industry. I did a presentation in Las Vegas to 150 people that are in the power industry, and I asked them a simple question: how many here right now are eligible for retirement? And I got half the hands lifted. Half the people in that class are ready to retire right now. As soon as this economy turns around, they're gone. There's going to be such a vacuum for people in that industry. Now, where do you start? With renewable energy. You can put solar panels up on houses, on commercial buildings. You can put wind turbines up. How many drove by big wind farms? You know, we have an opportunity to train you in solar PV, and we're involved in all the small, the very large. I've been involved in the huge, large power plants with solar PV, like Mojave and those big giant ones. I've been involved in those types of things. And I'm bringing, with the people I know, expertise into this industry of solar PV all the way down to residential. If you're interested in wind and solar, then you might want to take our Green Energy Certificate program, where we give you a little bit of a math review, just to kind of make sure you're familiar, so that you can size and figure out, solar PV systems for residential. And also during that training program, we have the ability to provide certificate exam for NAVCET. Now, NAVCET is the recognized certificate that you want to have if you're going to go for a job. If you want to get a job installing solar PV systems, the first thing that an employer is going to ask you, do you have your NAVCET certificate? And we are actually able to proctor that in our training classroom. So if you're going to get involved in our classes, we're going to help you get there. We have some hands-on labs that go there. We've got the industry experts. We've got the recognition. We've been in the industry for so long. But it's going to require an effort on your part to make sure you get all the information you need to get that certificate passed. Have that piece of paper. That's going to mean a lot to you. And this is going to cover wind, solar, and even there's a section here on the electric power system when they talk about the grid. And the grid, what is the grid? And how many grids are there? We're connecting to them. What is it? How does it operate? You're going to learn all those kinds of things. There are actually 3 grids in all of North America. The west grid, the east grid, Texas. Okay, and we're going to be connecting up to it, and you're going to be providing your piece to help provide energy into this grid, not by big power plants that take 10 years to build, but a mass number of small individual energy-producing systems that tie into the grid, that also go towards the smart grid and all the future things that are going on. So if you want an opportunity to get into solar, wind, and the electric industry, which I'm telling you has a huge vacuum for employees over the next couple of years, it's phenomenal. I have colleges contacting me for our curriculum so that they can train people. I'm involved in many organizations that in the power industry. I'll be doing another lecture in Los Angeles, because these power companies need help, and they know it, and there aren't that many graduates, and there aren't that many people going from skills training. So I'm telling you, the electric power industry is a huge opportunity as we move forward in this. So I want to kind of ask, how many here would be interested in something like renewable energies, wind or solar? Very good. How many here might even be interested in starting your own business in something like that? Okay. Now today's not the day to go out and sell solar panels.
Hey, so how long is this course?
Okay, Jeff, you can.
Yeah, I'm going to break down the individual classes. So the Green Energy Career Certificate, I'll give you an overview, basically at ground level, so you can get an understanding of it. This is a 2-week program, the Green Energy, and that starts off with a math review, like Steve was talking about, which we play with. You know, it's something that's valuable because you're talking about electrical computations, and basically that's important because when you're going to do the design on the house, basically someone's saying, I need 1,000 kilowatt hours. How many panels are you doing? You know, how many amps is that? Things like that. Those are what we practice in the class. I don't want you to think it's, you know, trigonometry or anything like that. It's just basic computations. We start off with that. We go into electric power, which Steve was talking about, which is basically the generation point of power, how the transmission of that power gets to places, where we consume it, things of that nature, basically from the meter at a home backwards. Okay, and you're learning all the steps. We get into solar PV, which, like I was saying, breaks down basically what PV is, which is photovoltaic panels, how they're made, things like that, the basic computations of electrical computations, and then getting into what I consider the bulk of the class, which is the design element. Not the mechanical design, but the actual design on a home. Someone saying, I need 1,000 kilowatt hours, you going up, you're doing basically a site assessment, how you're placing the panels, what the importance of that is, and basically how many kilowatt hours you're giving to that homeowner, okay, in relation to the inverter, things like that. In this class also we go into the wind power, which basically talks about the different turbines there are, from the micro turbines to the macro turbines, which are the ones you see on the freeway. And you can talk about furling and yawing, which is basically how they turn into the wind or turn away from the wind when they get too much wind speed. You're going to learn about how much wind speed you need to apply a particular wind turbine to an area. So for example, you know, if you're living in an area up on a hill and you get sun, plus you get a lot of wind in the afternoon, you might benefit from a dual system, having both a wind application and a solar PV application. That, in a nutshell, is essentially what you're taking on in the Green Energy Career Certificate, which is the 2-week program. The other class, which is the PV for industrial and commercial, is getting a little bit more advanced into the PV. That's a 3-day course that you're dealing specifically within the requirements for an industrial and commercial application. So I'm talking about a large number of panels, NEC requirements, National Electric Code, okay? The applications and how and the intricacies within those. So you got to have experience. Like I would recommend some type of electrical experience if you have it to jump right into the industrial class. Another component of the industrial class is actually taking an actual building and doing a bit of an energy audit. So going in and saying, okay, our instructor comes from Reno, and he actually does this as a side job, and he takes the energy audit components like changing out lighting to show that not only is a PV a renewable application, just the end all. So, you know, changing your habitation, changing what you do, lights on, things like that, plus the renewables helps get something to what I call pencil. Makes sense for someone to buy into it.